Boom! What is up, everyone? Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. You know those three legends right there. That's Mr. Brad M, that's Mr. Pucky Vanek, and that's Mr. John Fly. An honor to be invited into the PB&J tonight. Citation Mom did make a lovely PB&J downstairs. Let me turn off the live ATC here for a second. Downstairs for me later on, so that's going to be great to share that after this epic stream. Again, honored to be a part of this tonight with everyone. John Fly, thank you very much for inviting me along with Pucky V and Brad M. And it's going to be an epic stream. I'm really excited. We're going to be talking everything flight sim, real airplanes, fake airplanes, maybe a little bit of iRacing for like 6 seconds, and everything else in between. So I'm really excited, and I think it's going to be a great night. So before we do get started, I want a big shout out to Jay Barrett, 15 months, and the one and only Mr. Pucky V coming in 8 months. So thank you, Puck. Again, everyone, good evening, and welcome to the PB&J and M Max. There was discussion. It was the C. Who knows? Anyway, I'm here, and this is the big PB&J podcast tonight. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Brad M, Mr. Brad.
Hi, what's up? How's it going, Max?
Mr. John Fly.
Hey, everyone. How you doing? Thanks for joining us tonight. Really an honor and a pleasure. It's been, it's been what, has it been 3 months, guys, since we've last done the PB&J?
3 months?
Maybe
it's been
2.5.
about 6.
It's been maybe 5-6 years. We don't know, but we're back, and in fact, we've come back with a big bang. And thank you so much, CitationMax, for joining us. This is an honor.
Thank you, Mr. Pucky V. Got some words for everyone?
You know, just ready to have a nice night with you fine folks, and talk about everything under the sun. Oh my god.
All right, sounds good. So
I like almost broke my chair.
You good?
Nice. Yeah, you're right.
So everyone, if anyone has any questions, exclamation ask. So that's where we'll be answering all the questions tonight. And exclamation ask, and feel free to basically ask whatever. Let's try and keep it flight sim, airplane, kind of related.
IRL stuff too.
IRL stuff. IRL stuff.
Yeah, sure.
And Puck Vanek is a real world commercial pilot. Both Brad and John are both sim ATP pilots. And fun fact, John Fly actually has about 250 hours IRL with me in the right seat. In a variety of different airplanes, from little SR-20 22s to the M2. So John Fly has worked the radios at 40,000 feet, which is pretty awesome. So there's a lot of experience with Mr. John up there in the cockpit with me, and Mr. Brad M also has been featured on a YouTube video. So all stream on.
Apparently the volume is a bit low for everyone else, so I don't know if we want to change the Discord volume.
Okay.
Anybody else have low audio out there?
Well, they're saying there may be a difference between Max and us, but it's a balance. It's a production. We're tweaking it.
I can tweak it. Do you want me to bring it up a little bit?
But let's clarify maybe if it's if it's a bit low across the board, or just us on Discord.
All right.
Before we jump into the questions.
Yeah, perhaps just drag up your microphone there in the OBS, Max.
All right. I'm up. There we go. Perfect. I'm low. Okay. Let me fix that. All right, let me fix that here. Stand by. Good now? Perfect. All right, yep, we're good. Max is low. Okay, I think I should be good now. I did do some uppage on the soundage, so I think we're back in business now, but maybe I can change some other stuff out. It's the same? All right, hold on a second here. John, I got to go into properties, right? Is that how you want me to do it?
I think the OBS.
You can just do the slider on OBS.
The slider on OBS.
Yeah, I just did that. It's all the way
up
now.
What about mixer? Does your mixer have?
No, that has nothing to do with it. No. It's yeah, no. I just put myself all the way to the max now. So yeah, I think we're good. M9 says we're good. It's fine. Okay. Perfect. All right. Cool.
Yeah, it sounds
sweet.
Good.
Perfect. Amazing. So does Mr. Puck? Do you want to read off the first question?
Yeah, let's get into it.
Let's go right into it.
Make sure you guys are sending those over. Let me just thanks, Dusk. Nice guy. All right, individual questions. Let's go. First off, from Mr. Cessna 9DS, starting off with a great question of the Tolus A321. What are your guys' impressions?
Go ahead, Max. Your show.
Impressions of the A321.
From Tolis. What are your
It's
thoughts?
it's not out yet. I'm excited. There is a lot of Airbuses in the flight sim right now. I think we know that, in my opinion, FS Labs is number one in both platforms. Even though I really don't know how to use the ATSU, probably about 36% of the functions. But it's a great airplane. I think the 321 is going to be great. There's no 321 in XPlane, so I think I'll definitely buy it because you just kind of have to do that, I think, especially as a streamer. But I'm excited. I can't wait to see what it's about. I've heard they've remastered the FMCs. They've done some other tweaks. The EFB is going to be cool. So yeah, I'm excited. I think it's going to be a purchase for me. And if it's like the 319, it's going to be a good airplane. So those are my thoughts. Brad, John, Puck.
Go ahead, John.
Oh yeah. John, go
As
ahead.
far as I mean, the impressions. I don't have any impressions because one, I haven't seen anything. I've been. I mean, there may be some preview images and some forum discussions or even official announcements regarding the plane. I, for one, am all for any expansions in the X-Plane world with regard to the Airbus family. As many of you know, I fly the Fly Factor 320. I fly the Tolis 319. I guess my only statement would be, I hope that beyond some updating and some improvements overall, I do hope that they improve the visual textures. We now know that we have the Totemac third-party volunteer free mod upgrade for the A319 for Tolis. I'm hoping that out of the box they've improved it even more from the 319. But that's just visual thinking. At the end of the day, a lot of us, especially those of us on VATSIM or Pilot Edge, want a VNAV, an LNAV, and a solid McDo more so than aesthetics. But it might be kind of nice to have it out of the box, have a better texture and feel. What do you say, Brad?
I agree because that was the big hold up for me. I talked about that last night. How I held out for a while because it just looked awful with the default textures, frankly. So I was not interested in it really. That was a big thing for me because you can do all the systems you want, but if I'm not enjoying actually looking at it, then I probably won't enjoy it overall. As far as getting it, I don't know if I will. I spoke previously I wouldn't. It looks great, but I think one A321 is enough for me because I'm starting to seriously duplicate quite a few aircraft between both sims. And more often for me, it just becomes whoever releases first, basically, in this current state. So it looks great, and I love the 319. I'm going to keep that and keep on flying it, but I don't know if it's going to be a buy for me just because I, only need so many certain types of aircrafts, essentially. But yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, I respect that.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I've also been, during my times of flight sim streaming over the last few months, I've been leaning a lot towards like P3D wise. So I'm kind of stepping back away from X-Plane for the time being. And I don't know, I really enjoy the FS Labs 321, so I probably will not be getting the 321. So
Ironically,
There's my thoughts.
the FS Labs 321 was my first Airbus on P3D. I didn't even go 20, and I haven't acquired the 19 from FS Labs. So it was funny how I jumped into the whole FS Labs side of things directly into the 21. It was kind of
Yeah.
fascinating to start at that point when you guys are like, this is all new to us that have been flying the 320 for a while. So, but and I'll go on record. Yeah, the FS Labs family is by far the best best Airbus simulation. But that doesn't mean that I want to go back to my ortho photo in XYZ geographic area on X-Plane and fly the Flight Factor 320 or the Tolis 319. So yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to go on my first little tangent of the evening. If you don't, we're 17 minutes in and it's starting early. But I think the problem is with, I think now developers now that have planes in both platforms. Let's say you have a really good 321 and P3D, and you have, let's say, a 321 coming out of X-Plane. I think that's a really tough thing because I think a lot of people are cross-platform now. You have people on P3D, you have people on X-Plane, and there's just not that many people that are going to buy airplanes for both sims that are the same airplane. And I think that is a thing. For me, for instance, in P3D, it's the jets, it's the labs, it's the PMDG, it's the big boy stuff, it's the stuff, the systems. In X-Plane, it's the rep pack It's the Barons. It's the amazing TBM. It's that stuff. But I think if you go about it in the way that you have a 321 in XPlane and a 321 in P3D, that's a tough thing for a consumer to then jump onto and buy it in both platforms. I think that is fundamentally an issue that I think some developers have said, we're not going to make a plane that's been released in P3D. Some are kind of going neck and neck, but that, especially going forward, which I'm sure we'll talk about more tonight with 2020, there is a lot of drop off now with developers and airplanes and both sims and really what sim stays alive with the next generation of flight simulation. But I think that is the thing which is tough, is having a 321 in both simulators. I think is a challenge. Just no matter how good the airplane is, that's the challenge.
Yeah, with all of this being said, Tolis, if you're watching, all 4 of us will take a free copy of your 321, and we will show the world what it's all about. Because truth be told, on a serious note, guys, if you're a developer, it doesn't hurt for you to put out some free marketing out there on the Twitchverse and embrace this community and show the people your product. Because if we were given the 321, we're going to be honest, but we're also going to have a good time with it, and I think people are going. It's free exposure. So there you go.
And I think that's the whole social media stuff just going forward. I mean, I talk to people, some companies now, they don't even believe in social media influencing a product. And I think that mindset has to change, because I think, especially with Twitch now and all these Mixer and all this other stuff, but Twitch especially, Twitch is the biggest. We love Twitch. You have streams, Brad, John, Puck will stream, and have a great viewership and great people there that want to see a product before they buy it. And I think, and that's what I do. I mean, I streamed the Carnado XL on Saturday. That was a bit of a disaster stream, but you know what? I enjoyed it. I showed the product, and probably a good amount of people might not buy it now. Some might still, because they think it's fine. Some will and some won't. And I think if you have a good product and you're willing to show that and give it to a streamer, I think that's just free marketing for one plane that you could give 150 people, 200 people could have access to seeing that. And then it's up to them to make the decision. Are they going to buy it? Are they not? But I think you have to be able to, someone has to be able to see it in action before you'll buy it.
Yeah, if I didn't know you and you didn't fly that plane and do the stream, then I would have probably just blind bought it, because there's no other way of knowing besides actually flying it. So I think besides a YouTube video, actually having the chance to say, can you go into here and push this button or flip this switch and see what this does, right? And then you can kind of make that decision, maybe even right there, and say, all right, this thing's a little shaky. Maybe I will buy, maybe I won't, whatever it might be. But that's a prime example of why it's great to be able to do things live, but also, show it off. Like we often do take that hit and sometimes buy a bunch of stuff that isn't, grade A quality, but we may be saving, we're not playing hero, but we may be saving others from spending their hard-earned money on something that they might not want to, So
yeah, moral of the story, before you give us streamers a copy of it, make sure that it works from point A to at least point B and a half.
That's not a lot to ask either, though, right?
Yeah. No.
And I'll throw this one question out. This is kind of in the same category. I'll throw this to Brad, John, and Puck. But, I think everyone watches Brad and John and Puck. Why do you think you have started to stream a lot more P3D now than you ever have before? Why do you, there is a general gist now, I think, that P3D is, and I love XPlane, we all love XPlane, but it has taken a little bit of a back seat compared to P3D on this flight simulation platform. I'll start, Brad. John, you can start off. Why do you think? No, why do you think?
Go ahead, Brad. Let me get your thoughts, and I have.
I think I kind of started the whole trend like basically a year ago. Once I kind of was reaching my limits with XPlane, I was like, I want to do something a bit different, do something more, fly planes that I currently can't, because I know better versions exist. And the venture was, well, how do I, it's pretty much a different language for P3D, right? Learning 2 different sims. It's a whole other world, really, just learning how it works, how to tweak it, how to fly it, and everything else like that. And also dumping in a ton more money into it as well. So I took the plunge with, of course, the help of the channel. And I just realized that there was a whole lot more to be explored. Whereas XPlane, I kind of, again, reached my limits in terms of where I could fly. I was starting to do a lot of repetitive stuff, and I wasn't really necessarily interested in doing anything else that I haven't done already. Yet P3D had so much more to offer me at the time, and it's still so new. So it's one of those things that it's just, again, I've been in for like 11 months or so at this point, so I'm just barely scraping the surface in that regard, basically. But I mean, it honestly just comes down to flying my favorite planes that I currently can't in really high renditions, like the 777, 747. You know, those are like my favorite planes to fly. So it's nice to be able to actually get in those and do that. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
gotta agree with. I really do agree with that because, like, I think I was the second person to jump into it. I mean, of course, John was on P3D V4,
Yeah.
even before
Yeah.
like
He's had it for a while, right, John?
yeah, forever.
Yep.
And
Yep.
and I remember watching a few of his streams, and then when I started watching John, it was like the last few streams of P3D, and then he made the switch hardcore into XPlane. But I think once I saw Brad make the jump and he had Rex Skyforce, Active Sky, everything that you could need for P3D, and I saw him flying the 777, I just said, screw it, I'm gonna go for this. And of course, the channel definitely helped. And once you make the plunge, honestly, I don't know how I'm gonna get back out of it. I don't think I've even opened XPlane in the last 5 months.
Yeah.
I think you're really right on it, Puck, because pretty much the same thing happened to me by watching guys like Black Box and Chewy and Time to Jet and these guys who are pretty much, 99.5% P3D. And for the longest time, I was like, oh, P3D, whatever, we have a better flight model and this and that. But I mean, like loading into it and getting all these great add-ons, like it's so visually just appealing, and like it really does kind of immerse you a bit more, at least for me. So I just kind of fell to peer pressure in that sense, so to speak. Just by watching others, I was like, wow, I think I'm missing out on quite a bit here, and maybe I shouldn't be poo-pooing it so much because it's actually pretty great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, John? Because you're a man that
yeah.
was an XPlane 11 hardcore. I mean, if you heard P3D, you would just
Yeah.
leave the room and go somewhere else. So
Yeah.
you've kind of done a 180, and you've
Yeah.
obviously taken some some XPlane.
Yeah.
We won't. Anyway, you know what I mean. So
Okay,
tell us from
so-
your perspective, the XPlane guru.
Yeah, from my perspective, well, first and foremost, my first love is Laminar XPlane 11. That is truly where I want to be, and I still truly, to this moment, believe GA, General Aviation, it's still that platform.
Yep.
Orthophoto, it's still that platform. True Earth is making it does exist in P3D, but in general. But I'll tell you, and I've said this on a stream before, but the only reason that I even considered reinstalling P3D was because PMDG did the smart maneuver of saying, I'm going to offer you a $99 credit toward the new sim if you buy the NGXU right now. Done. I bought it, and that's all she wrote. All of a sudden, I did the slippery slope down the FS Labs road, and there she goes. And I'm just having a ball with it. I'm having fun. I'm alternating the sims. We got the new emote. I would say that when the time came that Brad was going, primarily XPlane and Puck, and they did this switch over, I was like, you guys, I love you, and I'll tune in for you, but this is just not as relatable to me. But now it is. It's like opened up a whole new basket of fun, and we're a hybrid streamer, and we'll talk more about it tonight about the new sim coming. But it was really all about the NGXU and that credit toward the NGX3, which is now no longer. You had to do it before December 31st. So.
And there's another thing that I want to point out before we end this topic. Somebody in chat said XPlane devs aren't keeping their products up to date due to Laminar's aggressive update schedule, and Austin's love for tinkering. And while I think that's true, some of the planes that I end up flying do break really regularly. The one that breaks the most for me is the 757. And I constantly have issues with that one, and I just don't know what to do with it anymore. So, and I love flying that thing.
Do you do a P3D 757? Just as a quick tangent.
I would. I think the Captain
don't?
Sim. I don't. No,
Okay.
The Captain Sim has a version 4, I think. But no, I don't have that. But
If I'm in the mood for a 757, I'm going to XPlane. There's still
yeah,
still
yeah,
that,
it's
but
so
I'll tell
great.
you right now, the NGXU has finally taken over. It's better. It's my preferred 737. I still love Zebo, but it's second place. The 777, the 74, and now the labs. They're all. It's just
That's like
more
every airplane. That's like every airplane.
That's what we're kind of getting at here. Is I
Yeah.
mean, like they
I mean-
have that. Well, but again, we've talked about this. I mean, for almost every episode by now,
Yeah.
that they've had this sort of in the bag for so long because they've had the code for longer. They've had this is not today groundbreaking stuff, right? They've had experience with developing for these sims for so long. Yet the guys in Laminar, right? I mean, XPlane 10, that had some good add-ons, but like 11 was when it really just skyrocketed, and I mean everybody was dropping stuff left and right and high quality products. So, but for P3D and FSX, they've been around for quite a while. Like look at like Level D, look at all the FS Dream Team stuff. Those guys have been around for a super long time. They've had a lot of time to refine their code and their product. And we've been in this for like what, a year basically. I mean Max has been here for quite a while with P3D as well. But I mean, me for a year, like I'm still just so wowed. Yet, I mean, if you've been in it for 5, you're probably not as wowed
Mhm.
as I would be.
I
Yeah.
agree, 100%.
Yeah, I
It's
think
something new. It's
But you can
it's brand new.
guarantee that if the Challenger Hot Start Challenger 650 came out tomorrow, all 4 of us would be on X-Plane this week.
Yeah.
Mhm.
100%
Yes.
agree. Listen, I think at the end of the day, we're driven by the airplanes. We're driven by the airplanes, the scenery, and we'll talk about this more later. But I just think that is the hardcore end of topic. How we end it is we are driven by a scenery and airplanes, and right now the scenery and the airplanes are just better in P3D. But if Hot
Agreed.
Start comes out tomorrow with the Challenger, it's it. We're going X-Plane for and that's it, and that's what we'll do. So, I think we'll see. But that's how we and that's how it should be.
It's nice
Alright.
that we're all familiar with both platforms, which makes the PB&J+M that much more in depth because we're
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah.
some of us more than others. Me being new back to the platform, but anyway, probably time to move on to the next
Yep.
one.
Okay.
Yeah,
next
I was just about to say that. So we'll move on to a completely separate topic. Mr. Boss Bud Gaming. What's up, buddy? He says, this will be my first year at Expo. What is a must for me to check out? Brad, I know you were pretty hypercritical of a lot of things. Not hypercritical, but you were critical of some things. What do you have to say to Mr. Boss Bud?
Well, after my first year this past June, I
Mhm.
was very underwhelmed with the actual contents of the event. I think that I'm not alone in that feeling, but I was there for, I mean, again, sounds cliche, but again, those expenses I paid for were strictly to meet my good friends, meet John, Fly, and Puck for the first time, Time to Jet. I met Max before, but I mean, it was pretty much like just a big guys weekend. That was pretty much like what it was for me. So if my 2 cents on this, what's a must be to check out? I mean, it's just hanging out with everybody, right? Check out what people are doing outside the actual expo, because you're gonna, of course, see them there, but see what's going on outside the expo, right? What's everybody doing? Where they're hanging out at? What's the plan for tonight? That sort of stuff, because it would be kind of a shame to just like go to the expo, go to the hotel room, call it a night, and you leave type of thing. So I think it's the social aspect of the actual expo is what's not to miss, besides what's actually going on there.
And I think just so anyone that doesn't know, it's Sim Expo. It's in Vegas this year, June 12th through the 14th. I would say it's kind of the event that we all get to see each other every year. As much as we see each other on stream, it's very nice to see everyone in person. But June 12th through the 14th in Las Vegas is Sim Expo. But Brad, I completely agree with you. I do not go to Expo to see anything about what's coming out or any of the gadgets, gimmicks, whatever it might be. It is to see Brad M, to see Puck, to see John, to see the guys, to see people that watch on Twitch. That is why I go. I'm sure they have some really great stuff, and they do have
The
some good
honeycomb
stuff.
was nice to touch that before I actually bought that. That was
Yeah.
nice to actually know what I was buying before I did. But other than that, I was just like, okay,
Yeah.
the guys are here. Let's hang out.
But
So-
giving Bish a hug was better than touching the honeycomb. That's what I'm saying.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I would say for the expo, it's obviously we're looking for any sort of announcements that we haven't heard about through the grapevine. So sometimes when you go to an expo, I mean, Max and I went to the con back in the day of Hartford, Connecticut, and we heard grumblings of this, that, and the other. But you have to realize the first FS Con up there at Hartford, Connecticut, there was almost zero XPlane presence
Yeah.
at that first con, and then all of a sudden it just ballooned up. And so I think it's all about staying in touch with what's out there and what's available, and the hands-on. And if you're a streamer, it doesn't hurt for you to do a little bit of networking, get to know some of the developers and some of their products, and kind of, let them know what you do, and that helps. But if you're just a consumer, if you're just a flight simmer, yeah, you're gonna be able to touch that new joystick or see that new software or listen to that discussion about what's coming down the line. But I'm with Brad and Max and Puck. We all just want to see each other in person. We know each other so well through these virtual means in the chat rooms, and we get to meet new people, and that is definitely the highlight. So that go for that aspect, but don't be surprised if you're going to be pleasantly surprised by some humor during a panel that is just going to make it all that much better.
Right. And I think I'll add one quick thing to that is, we say on Twitch and when we're online, when we're, up till 4 a.m. on Discord, talking, there's not such a thing anymore as virtual friends or internet friends. It is friends. And that is as simple as it gets. There's, I spend more time with Brad and John and Puck and a lot of people on Discord than I do with actually my friends in New York City. And that's just the truth. So for me, when I go to these things, it is not about, seeing my internet friends or seeing my, Discord friends. These are seeing my good friends. And I think that's why I go. And that at the end of the day is how I look at it, because again, I hang out with all these guys more than I do with my friends in the city. And Brad is, unfortunately near Newark, and then, Puck is, somewhere in the middle of nowhere, and then John's in the amazing Salt Lake and, the beautiful mountains, but we still get to spend a lot of time together. And then Expo is really the time when we all get to really just come together. So it's great. Yeah. So, Puck, you ready for the next question?
Yeah. And just one last thing, and then we'll move on. Honestly, Nico just joined the chat, but
hey, Nico.
The Just Chatting booth was probably the best part of
it was a good
the
time.
expo. Not even gonna lie, because it's like you go to these expos, especially as a streamer, you want to go and you want to meet some of the people that you regularly hang out with and talk to off stream, on stream, fly with. It's really such a cool thing. You get to put faces to voices and everybody texting. It's cool.
Well, I think that the good reason it was a big hit was because the facilities were inadequate to handle something like that besides the hotel bar. So without that, I mean, it would just be a bunch of Twitch nerds hanging out in a random corner. Everybody would, think, oh, what's the weird stuff going on over here, right? But if you weren't a Twitch guy, which was probably 80% of people, you saw this booth and you were like, what is this? Right? And then you're like, oh, I can go for an espresso. Sure. Yeah. Don't mind if I do.
She's not bad looking. There you go.
But still, so it was like a double-edged sword, because we were like loving it and it was amazing. It was like the place to be. But I always wondered in the back of my head, what were like the non-Twitchers thinking of this booth? Like they must have been so confused, but there were some interesting booths there. So, I bet it wasn't too crazy. Yeah. But yeah, that was a good time at that booth. Yeah.
Yeah. That was memories. I always remember that booth with us trying to get, that was, interesting. Yep. We loved it. Yep.
All right. So moving on from the expo. Yeah. Expo was awesome. Moving on. So this comes from Black Sheep. This goes out to everyone who's not feeling super confident about their radio and their ATC interaction. He or she says, I have yet to fly on the VATSIM network and interact with ATC via radio. I feel confident in the aircraft I'm flying, and I've flown the same routes many times. What is your suggestion for getting over the stage fright and making that initial call? And I can speak towards my actual like PPL training. I think chair flying really helped me, at least. So I'd sit down with my instructor. And I guess it's a little bit different because sim flying, you don't really have an instructor, but
we are permanently chair flying.
Pretty much, yeah. And I'd sit down with my instructor and I'd actually go over like getting taxi clearance from the parking spot down to the runway or to the run-up pad, or taking off, contacting a departure, that sort of thing. So that's how I learned IRL. But I think on like sim wise, I think it's mainly down to listening to what other people do. So like going on, I know Brad and John and Max, they all fly primarily on Pilot Edge and VATSIM. So they almost always have ATC. So like listening to them and listening to what other people are doing on the frequency, that really does help. So what do you guys think?
I mean, I just say see ya a lot, and any mistake you do, just say see ya, see ya, see ya, and everyone just the mistakes just go away. Basically, just but seriously, no. Now on a serious note though, how I honestly did it was this is for sim and for real world flying. Is I would be in my car, I would Bluetooth live ATC into my audio panel of my car, and anytime I would get in the car, I would pick JFK Tower, I would pick New York Approach, I'd pick LA Tower, Salt Lake, whatever it might be. And I would just listen to that. And I would just constantly listen and listen and listen and listen. And then that night when I got home, I would then go and try it in the sim. And it would just build, it was weird, but that would build confidence in me, just hearing people say it, getting that kind of that muscle memory, and then doing that. But that was really my way, how I became comfortable, is that way. And also, listen, the first time you're going to hit that push to talk button on VATSIM, you're going to be nervous. I was nervous. I remember. So that's kind of what I did, and it worked really well.
But here's a couple of cool things that I have a couple tips for you. When you log on, immediately know there's somebody who knows less than you, right? That's just a figure, right? There's always somebody who will know a little bit less than you. So don't think that you're on the bottom and that you know nothing or you don't know what to say, right? Always listen. Like, of course, Max has listen in, but don't forget you're talking to somebody who is also on their computer, right? Doing the same thing, relatively speaking, that you're doing, right? They don't have, this is not, some big judgment day thing. They're also hanging out, enjoying their hobby just like they are with you. They want to help you, enjoy your flight, your experience and stuff like that. And they rely on good feedback and they rely on kind of good service. So, there's no reason to be nervous or scared and, think about, well, if I get in trouble, some networks you may get into a bit of a tiff if you fly an incorrect procedure, or maybe you miss a certain call or whatever, but that's how it is in the real world. But on VATSIM in particular, I think just know that you're all enjoying the same hobby together, and that's how it should be. So there's no reason to be afraid or scared of talking to the other person on their computer, basically.
Yeah, I think these are all very, very valid points, and I'll tell you right now that there's two ways to go about, besides listening to the real world and listening to Pilot Edge and listening to VATSIM on streams, or however. It could be you just sit on the ground in your Skyhawk and you don't move or anything. You just listen to VATSIM. I know the Pilot Edge you can listen to the recordings while you're off the network, but listen, and see how people do certain things. But then the next level is you do one of two things. You do the Pilot Edge 2-week trial and you go through the CAT ratings. And there's a transcript. It tells you, say this, expect this, say this, expect this. The CAT ratings all the way through. And then after the CAT ratings, you have the I ratings, right? If you're too intimidated for Pilot Edge, or maybe you've already done your 2-week trial, go on VATSIM and go to a place that doesn't have more than one controller, does have one controller. Don't go your first time into this on an FNO. Go to some, Kansas City Center is off the wee hours and just do some very basic, hey, I want to depart VFR in a Skyhawk, that basic radio vernacular, but don't do it during an FNO. And if you're going to do Pilot Edge, again, do the CAT ratings and the I ratings. And I will say I am a product of not knowing how to talk on the radio. And as a result of flying on Pilot Edge, just recently entered the VATSIM world. That's the whole reason that Max let me use the radios in the real world, is because I had that training. But yeah, that fright will lessen with time with either Pilot Edge or VATSIM or IVAO or POSCON if it ever comes about.
The one thing I just mentioned, just talk about John Fly. He got in the airplane. We flew a couple months ago in Salt Lake, and John's working the radios out of a Salt Lake City Bravo airport in the real world when there's a lot of complexity going on. No pen, no paper, which I was very proud of you, John. And it's just nonstop. It's just reading back instructions, and that is all because of Pilot Edge, VATSIM, Live ATC. And to be honest, John is not a real pilot, but he was talking better than most instrument-rated pilots on the radios in the IRL. And that is a huge thing because of the VATSIM, the pilotage, and all those other factors that honestly a lot of real world pilots do not do. They don't do that. They just do the real world and that is it. But staying proficient, staying, sharp with the ATC, that is only going to benefit you. And that's, yeah.
Agreed.
Yep.
And the funny thing is that and the last note on that online network, it's funny how we as streamers and simmers, that all those online networks take it to another level. We suddenly it matters, those altitude restrictions and the way that we say things. And it's no longer simming on our own. So you're going to be scared, but that's part of the fun, is the fact that there is a chance that you could make a mistake. So you tend to be on your A game. And that for me personally, that just makes it better. When Max does not stream very often without ATC. Let's put it that way. He has that a part of his immersion factor. So
yeah, no, I think ATC is really important. Yeah.
Good luck,
I
Black
do.
Sheep. We're rooting for you.
Yeah. And Mayor, thank you for continuing your tier 1 sub. Appreciate it. Thank you. All right,
guys. Here's another question about FS Expo. I'm kind of jumping around through the questions just to make it flow efficiently.
Yep.
They didn't put their Twitch username, but they said, heard so many FS streamers agree with you guys for the expo that it's not about the products and the companies, but rather meeting the fellow streamers, fellow friends, and the FS industry peers. So for the casual simmer, is there much justification for spending all the money to travel / attend the expo from another town, country, continent?
I gotta say, if I wasn't on Twitch, I didn't know you guys or any of this sort of stuff, and I wasn't kind of within the relations of basically everybody on here, I don't know if I would find myself having a want or need to go there type of thing. But I did have that kind of FOMO, that fear of missing out at the previous expo I didn't get to go to. Watching the streams, I was kind of like, oh, I wish I was here type of deal. But, I don't know. Well, if you're asking the question, you're already in the Twitch, realm. But still, yeah, I don't know if I would be like, I gotta go to this, and I gotta see I don't know, what was that? What was it, in like a Sandy wipe station or something? What was that? What was that like?
The eye cloth.
Yeah, I gotta see the eye cloth.
Shoot some basketballs.
I gotta see them. I gotta get my eye cloth.
If nothing else, go for the swag.
Yeah.
Honestly, the amount of stuff that I walked out of there with, I've been cleaning my phones for the last year. Just
that's good. It's important.
But yeah, I would say if you're part of the Twitch flight sim community, it's so John's even got some right there.
There you go, John.
There it is. Yep. I actually still have my bag right next to me here. I might get it out, but yeah.
I've got 27 of them left almost.
Man.
But
no.
I wouldn't go.
Anyone,
I wouldn't go.
If you don't know anyone, all you have to do is walk up to one of us 4 during the expo and say, listen, I was tuned into that PB&J+M, and I was hesitant about going, but I'm just here to talk. Well, you just hang out with us the whole weekend. There you go.
Yep.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. Yeah.
That's where we go, is to hang out with everyone. I mean, again,
seriously,
we mentioned this before. We don't go to, I don't know, touch the honeycomb. I sure didn't touch it once, and I still bought it. So, I go to hang out with.
I had to do it.
I know you do, but I'm just, you know what I mean? Like, that's why we go, is to see you all. That's why I go.
I just had a thought that came to me. You know how the gentleman that was asking the question about being scared on the radio? There may be people here in our Twitch chats that are afraid of interacting in chat. Go ahead and break that lurk bubble and interact on chat. You'll start to get to know all of the different streamers out there, and then you will have a relationship because they know you. They see your name in chat, and then you can see them at the expo. There's a lot of people. Don't be afraid to type in chat because we do not bite.
I gotta say, the coolest thing about this last expo was having people, like, of course, you know the guys that you see with the webcams, but having like viewers come up and like shake your hand and say hello, and like thank you for like doing streams and this and that, and like saying like they love watching your stuff. Like it's like a weird feeling, but it's like super cool. But you also don't know how to like react to it. It's like whoa, like this is, what I mean? But it's like so cool to hear that sort of stuff and meet people who actually enjoy it and be able to put a name to a face and and just, kind of actually make it a bit more personable as opposed to just seeing a name on a screen type of thing. You guys kind of agree with that, where you just kind of have that face-to-face connection and you're able to
Oh, absolutely.
meet the person.
Captain Canada agrees as well.
Mr.
Yeah.
Captain Canada, hello. What's up, Kyle?
Mr. Captain Canada.
What's up, Kyle?
Sorry,
Yeah.
we're not able to interact much with the
Yeah.
chat, guys, because we're keeping with the questions and we're talking to each other. We apologize for not being completely interactive. I'm thinking toward the end of the podcast, vidcast, talk show, we will actually take live questions after the canned questions. So again, !ask, and we'll go down the route.
We got a big stack coming in right now.
We got a stack.
Um,
Woo, we love it.
Let's go, Puck. Let's go.
So yeah, let's keep it going. All right. Mr. Zach the Pilot says, just came back from Barnes and Noble and you saw a PC Flight Sim magazine. Have you guys read that? Is
Dude.
it worth subscribing to?
I used to collect those. Those were the
Ooh.
bomb before.
Do you
like
still have the NGX cover?
I still have the NGX
I am
cover
envious.
from 2011. Like, yeah, I still kept all that crazy stuff that I was like, I'll never need this, but I just kept it. Like, yeah, that's memorabilia right there. That's nostalgia.
Honestly, I would say probably not, because
Yeah, I agree.
everything's all online.
Yep.
So subscribing to it would just be a little bit of a waste of money, considering you can just go to one of our discords and honestly find news about it in an instant. So yeah, I would say no.
For
But
me,
it's cool that it's at Barnes and Noble.
for me, because I'm just so hardcore into this hobby, and I'm a couple generations older than these three. I actually don't mind coffee table material, conversation pieces. So, that might be something you see in the John Fly household. It's kind of nice to see the glossy.
It
What about
was.
you, Max?
Yeah, no, I'm a strictly, I've never even owned a copy, to be honest. In FBOs, I picked it up. I've read it for 10 minutes, but no, never been a big thing for me.
That is one thing though that I will always read. I don't care what it is, where it is. Like if it's Flight Sim and I see that, like I'll just that's what I used to go hunt for it in Barnes and Noble, and I would like look for to see if they had like a new edition type of thing, just to see like kind of like what's out. There was no big kind of like
There
XPlane
was no
store sim
FS
market
Elite
stuff.
or Threshold.
Yeah, so that was where like you found out like what the latest and greatest was and like where to get it. So
Yeah.
you didn't have much of a choice.
I'm finding that we have these great news organizations like FS Elite and Threshold and many numerous other news outlets, but our discords are chock full of all of this content that we normally would go to for these magazines. So join Max's Discord, join Puck's, Brad's, mine. It's amazing the amount of information that's handed down in there in detail, and then not to mention you get follow-up questions on an article. Hey,
Yeah.
what do you think about that?
Well, when a plane comes out, the first place I see it actually is in Discord. I mean, when anything comes out, I just see links going off in Discord.
Yep.
It's amazing, but it's that's, I think, from a person that was on TeamSpeak for many years. I was a part of a virtual airline that unfortunately went Chapter 11. But when it was functional, it was all in TeamSpeak. That was what Discord was 5 years ago. Which, if you look at Discord compared to TeamSpeak, it is a different world. It's just a different world. So, I mean, Discord is. I'm on Discord the whole time. I mean, it's revolutionary. So
there you go.
yeah.
All right, well, answers that.
He's been filtering.
Sorry, 1 second. Just typing something really quick.
All right, well, I'll take care of the next question then for you guys. Here is another one. Okay, I'll skip that one. How about this one? This one actually makes you think a bit. This is just I like this one quite a bit.
Okay.
If you guys didn't have Twitch or Flight Sims, where would you be right now?
Oh man. With regard to
Life. With regard to
in general?
life, like what would you be doing? Like I honestly dread to think. That's a scary thought.
It is. It's
Yeah.
I think
That's a hard one.
my biggest thing that that would be sad for me and I would be disappointed in, and this is going to sound really, really corny. It is. But I would not have friends like John, like Brad, like Puck, like a lot of the people in chat, because I wouldn't be a part of this community. And that would be the sad thing, not being able to Josh and, all that I've spent, life. I mean, we've done trips together, and the ups, the downs, the uglies, the greats, the amazing, everything. Like, that is life. And it's meeting those kind of people that I think would be the saddest bit if I wasn't a part of Twitch, to be honest. I mean, that would be the tough bit. So yeah.
Puck?
I completely agree with that. It's sort of a thing like I currently am going to school in North Dakota. I don't really get a whole lot of interaction outside of the Midwest other than family members who live in like Michigan or a few friends that live in Illinois or in Iowa. So it's really cool that I was able to meet John, who's out in Utah. I was able to meet Max and Brad, who are in the metropolitan area. It's
I wouldn't
just
call
such
New
a
Jersey
cool,
metropolitan, but
well,
Yeah,
close
tri-
enough.
tri-
It's,
anyway,
tri-state,
yeah.
yep.
Yeah.
I
Yep,
mean, he's
tri-state.
closer. He's close to Newark, so I mean, I don't know. But it's that sort of thing. And now I actually have like a little bit of an incentive to go and travel to different places. Like I could fly out to the East Coast and see two of my friends. I could see Nico. I could see a bunch of other people. Or I could go out to the West Coast. I could visit John on the way there. I could see Josh Gibbs. All that sort of stuff. So if Twitch streaming wasn't there, I wouldn't have met the friends that I have now. So that's a big thing.
Yeah, Brad?
Yeah, I was just thinking it's a scary thought. I don't really want to think about it, honestly. It's just kind of like one of those things. I've only been doing it for 2 years, really,
Yeah.
something besides that, but it's been an on and off kind of, love affair type of thing. It's just not been this like steady on, like I have been. And I don't know, it's like such a weird thing to think about because frankly, if it weren't for Twitch, I don't know if I'd still have the motivation to, actually just continue to do these flights and these streams, but I really sincerely enjoy them as a result of being able to be on Twitch and showcase them. But it was a pretty tough time back when there was no multiplayer networks and there was no kind of communities. It was just, you're on your own, enjoy, single player, maybe some AI traffic, if you will, but it was a pretty lonely hobby for a while. So getting, friends who actually enjoy the same thing and they can also nerd out with you, I would presume the most epic thing that I've experienced in quite a long time.
Yeah, I would echo those same words. I mean, Brad and I have talked about it before. He got that magazine back in 2011, and I started flying the NGX in 2013. But it was all alone. It was all alone. I'd tell my friends, "Hey, look at this! What I can do!" I even went as far as to put a projector, and my entire wall was the cockpit of the NGX. And my friends were still not interested. So finding people with similar hobbies, it's like, okay, yeah, it's great to go out and fish alone, but how much better is it to have a couple of your buddies, on the shoreline with you, fishing?
It's a relief is what it is. It's
Yeah.
it's an
amazing.
absolute
And then,
relief. Yeah.
it just recently, believe it or not, I didn't know that Twitch had this, but there's these achievement unlocks. I just unlocked 2,000 hours of streaming.
Wow.
And they sent me this badge and said, you've streamed for 2,000 hours. If you think about the time that I've streamed, let alone the time that I've spent with all of you guys in the Twitch chats and research and this, that, the other, it's a pretty big percentage of my life, and maybe too much. But it's a nice way to relax, and we're staying out of trouble, and we get to meet people, and we have a great time. And it's like anything, life is better shared. So thank you to everyone here.
Yeah, I think one thing just to follow up on John's point is and Brad and Puck, but since Twitch is a large part of all our lives, it's if let's say you have people in your life that don't support that, that's their loss, right? I have friends that they'll come up to the pit here and John's been here. It's a bit of a crazy screens everywhere, cams, there's wires, it's a big old thing. And they're like, "Oh, what is this? What is that?" Blah blah blah. And if they don't get, like, you explain to them what streaming is and what Twitch is, and they're like, "What?" And they're like, well, we just can't get that. And I think you have to just embrace it. And this is what I love to do. This is what we love to do. And it gives us pleasure. It gives us, satisfaction and to be able to share that with everyone here. It's a real passion of ours. It's a hobby. It's a passion of people. It's their full-time job. But it's really, don't think what anyone else thinks. Oh, it's this, that. It's what matters what you think and what you enjoy doing and what your passion is. And if you stream 2,000 hours, 5,000 hours, or 100 hours, it doesn't matter. If it gives you, yourself, the streamer, or the viewer pleasure, that's what matters. I explained to Citation Dad this, and he could not get it. He's like, wait, what? You stream fake airplanes, a camera's looking at you, and people, you know what I mean? And I'm like, yeah, I love it. But I love it, and it gives me huge passion and satisfaction and enjoyment. And
Staying
honestly,
out of trouble.
yeah, and it's stuff like this that I wish I had when I was 13 or 15. I wish I was streaming when I was 15, because I can tell you I would have gotten into way less trouble if I was doing this than when I was back in when I was 15. And I think
Yeah, you
I
got in
wish
a
I
lot of
would have
trouble back then.
a lot.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One strike left. But no, I think that is really what I wish that I wish I would have been on Twitch for longer. So yeah.
Amen, brother.
Yep. All right.
All right.
All right, let's move on. Let's start doing a few IRL ones because we have a lot. And John, I would say John and Brad, this one's especially good for you guys. Homie asks, do you think flying a sim helps you fly a real plane or fly a plane in real life? Sorry, read that wrong.
I'll go. Yeah, but, we all the pilots out there talk about the seat of your pants. You don't have the feel of the gravity weighing on you. Like when I'm looking at the McDo, right, on a flight sim stream or an FMS or even a GTN 750, and I'm looking at something on the flight plan or whatever, and suddenly my plane's going down. I have no clue. In the real world, you know your plane is going down because you feel the acceleration, you feel the pitch angle. So I think, as much as I think that flight simulation helps you cut off hours from, say, getting your PPL, I don't know what the average is, 50, 60 hours or whatever.
That's
Okay,
about right.
if you were generally going to be a 90-hour PPL pilot, I think XPlane or P3D is going to get you to that 60 frame, just because you're getting familiar with the avionics, you're getting familiar with the instruments, the phraseology, the different things. You understand what, you don't have to have your instructor at X amount per hour explain to you what an altimeter is, for example. So I think it helps you with a lot of the practical. I don't think it necessarily lends itself to that feel, the seat of your pants, what when you want to flare, etc. Because we have people out there that are real world pilots that botch landings on flight sim, and then we have fake pilots who also botch landings in the flight sim. I think it's a great step toward that, but having flown in the real world and people give him the opportunity to fly, yeah, it's a different world. That whole feeling of Mother Nature pulling on you. What do you think? Who's
What do you
up?
think, Brad?
I think it's great for learning systems. I mean, it's all there for you. It's a controlled environment. You can do whatever you want, wherever you want, whenever. And if they do a good job modeling those, then you're set. If it's by the book, it's by the book. You know how to work the buttons, push things and flip switches. It's there. So for systems, I think it's great. Also, of course, aerodynamics, understanding, how flaps may affect your flight. Things like extending flaps, dumping flaps, and then you go fly in the real world and you say, well, I'm not gonna dump my flaps on a takeoff, like yikes type of thing. So it can kind of prepare you for situations that you will maybe not want to find yourself in IRL, and teach you things to avoid, teach you things you can work better on, and also prepare you for things that maybe if you have like a nice set of pedals, how to incorporate flying with pedals as opposed to just a twist joystick. So there's a lot to be benefited from using a sim, whether you just use it casually or for a serious proficiency. I think that there is no downside to flying a sim besides maybe your mom, your wife, your husband, whatever, yelling at you for spending too much time on their computer type of thing. So yeah, sims are great. We love them.
And I saw M9 said learning systems and stuff, and you said learning systems. And last December, a lot of people already know this, but I like to reiterate. I purchased a F-33 Bonanza, and in XPlane,
In the real world, everyone, just to
real world,
clarify.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
In XPlane, the Coronado has a F-33 Bonanza, the exact same kind, around the same year that we purchased ours, same engine and everything. And Reality Expansion Pack comes out with, or has a pack for the Bonanza. So before we even purchased the airplane, I went through and I put that into the sim, and I'd fly that. And I think I flew that probably 20, 30 hours before we even went and picked up the airplane. And jumping from the sim, and I had 0 hours in this type of airplane, jumping from the sim to the airplane and flying it back from Delaware, it was so much easier, because most of the avionics were exactly the same. And it really does help. Like, you go from a Cessna in XPlane to a Cessna in real world. Yeah, you don't get the feel, as John said, but of course everything is laid out about the same. The planes typically fly about the same. Like, you can rotate, you can stall, you can land at the same airspeeds, and the only thing you're missing is you're just missing the feel. You can do the exact same sight picture and everything. So flight sims, they do help. And I saw a question in here, so we'll just knock two out at once. They said, can you fly a complex airplane, something like a Citation? Max, I'll hand that one over to you, because you probably have a little bit more experience on that. Do you think that going straight from a sim, flying like a Citation, or flying like a, let's see, what's another, like a TBM, going from a TBM to, or TBM in the sim to TBM IRL, do you think you'd be able to land the thing right away, or be able to fly it?
Or
Oh.
have a head start.
Or have it, yeah, a head start at least.
Well, I think there's a couple of points to talk about that. I mean, I think, a plane's a plane at the end of the day, and if you can fly a Citation, I would hope you could fly it, be able to land and take off a TBM. Systems obviously going to be very different. There's a prop, there's engines, there's all sorts of crazy stuff going on. But no, I think it's definitely possible. I will say this to Puck's point about the Bonanza, is I find it really, really hard to basically learn the systems of an airplane that I don't fly IRL. That drives me up the wall. That's why a lot of the times in my streams, I don't look at checklist. We just kind of wing it, right?
Yep.
And that is just because I know my Citation like the back of my hand. I've known every airplane I've flown like the back of my hand, but I cannot get in the sim and pull up the FOM on the, 757 and try and learn what that electric hydraulic pump does on the left gen with the crossover and the bus ties. I just, it just doesn't work. So I think if you fly an airplane that you fly IRL in the sim, it's fantastic for your training. But if you fly a 757, you want to go and try and learn a Boeing or, an Airbus, whatever, I think I would find that a challenge. But no, I think a jet's a jet. And this is what someone told me when I was in citation type rating school. They said, Max, when you get to this level, all the jets are exactly the same. It could be a CJ, it could be a Phenom, it could be a Boeing 737. It has spoilers, it has speed brakes, it has a gear, it has engines, it has hydraulic pumps, it has fire suppression. It all works really pretty much exactly the same. There's just more of them and just slightly more complex, but everything really works the same. And I think if you can take that model and you can even move that to the sim stuff, or move that to bigger airplanes you fly in the real world, you have a head start. So
Cool.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Great question, homie. Thank you.
That
yeah,
was
a great question. That's a really good question.
So we kind of talked about this before, but it was we kind of strayed into it. But this person did not put their username, but they are asking, how do you know if a streamer getting a free copy of something is not swaying their complete and honest review of the product? I mean, I'm just going to start off. I don't think I've ever gotten a free product except for a few Vertical Simulations airports, which are phenomenal. Please check those out. Like, that's my honest opinion. They're awesome. But I think my whole thought process behind taking a product and going through and doing a review of it, you really, if you're doing a complete bias review of it, it's just like you're accepting a free gift, and whatever you say, everybody else has to do. And I think with us, at least the four of us, I think we're all in agreement that if we don't like something, we're going to say something about it. And if there's something that needs to be changed, we're going to voice our opinion, because ultimately what the consumer wants is for something to be right. And if something's not right, it should be pointed out and it should be addressed. So I think it's based on an integrity sort of thing. And if you don't believe that you can trust the integrity of the streamer, then maybe don't take their advice. What do
I
you
think
guys think?
I think at the end of the day, our job or my job is to show the product to the viewers. That is it. There is nothing else. If someone gives me a free copy of something, then that is known or before the stream that listen, I'm going to give my honest opinion, and that's just how it's going to be because my job as a streamer is to show the product how it should be shown to the viewer. There's no BS. That is just how I do it, and I'm going to be brutally honest. Because if I was the viewer, I would not want if I had a streamer that showed a product to me, and then I went to go buy it, and it was not how I thought it was, or this X, Y, and Z, I'd be very, very upset. And that just I never want to be that guy because that's just not me. So at the end of the day, that's how I approach it. I've been very, I've been fortunate a few times to have been given some free copies to stuff, and it's always been very open with everyone that you give your honest opinion, and that's kind of how I do it, and it works for me. What do you think, John and Brad?
Go ahead, Brad.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever got anything for free that the developer has said, make sure you speak highly of my product and this and that. There's never been this sort of kind of tit for tat type of thing. Yeah, there's never been an exchange in that regard. But yeah, I mean, of course, there are some people who out there will for sure definitely say things that they are in favor of potentially a bad product just because they maybe don't get a lot of press copies and they want to impress the dev, or maybe they frankly even do like it, but it's just not up, maybe it's not up to your standards, but they actually personally really like it. It's hard to tell if someone's being genuine or not on the internet, especially maybe if they have no webcam type of thing. But yeah, I don't know, I think it's just you'd have to take their word for it and just say if they like it, they like it, but also watch what they do. If it's a plane, if they fly it a lot, well, then you probably know they enjoy it. If it's a scenery and they fly to it a lot, then they probably really, really like it a lot and that sort of stuff. So, watch their habits, watch what they do, say, and how they act. But yeah, it's kind of hard to tell, again, on the internet if people actually really, really are being honest or not. So yeah, just, again, trust, but verify.
There you go.
It's a good
I
one.
would say, I would say that there have been, I've been fortunate that I've been, streaming since 2015, and I've had a lot of opportunity from developers to receive free product. I've purchased a lot of product too. I don't even want to add up how much I've
Oh, dear.
purchased, but the free product that I have been given, I say that the fact that I go live with it, you, the viewer, are going to see what's wrong and what's right, regardless of what I say, because I'll be flat out. I'll be very frank. If someone gives me a product, I may choose to subconsciously. I may be looking at the positives, showing a few of the negatives, but maybe not harping or I don't want to even if it wasn't a free product, but let's say it's a product that's in early development or whatever. I don't want to discourage the developer from continuing to improve that product. So I may choose my language, and I may change it a little bit, right? I try to be positive about something, but I'll give you an example, and this is opening up a little bit, but you guys know for a while I was using ForeFlight on my stream, and I was happy as could be because it's so full featured. But when I got the Navigraph sponsorship, I started to use less ForeFlight. I missed some of the features. Now you guys know that I am hardcore Navigraph chats. It is amazing, and they're continuing their development. So I will say from that point is like I started to do a little less ForeFlight, even though I lost a few features. But in time, I mean, how great is georeferencing on Navigraph charts? Granted, disclaimer, I'm sponsored by Navigraph. But how awesome it is that they've listened to the community, they've sponsored Twitch streamers, they've sponsored other YouTube personalities, and we have this great product that's going to continue to have advancements that's going to rival some of these other products. Because let's face it, ForeFlight is not inexpensive, and we simmers need to be conservative. So As far as planes are concerned, yeah, I go out and I fly the Magnite. I bought the Magnite. I wasn't sponsored. I gave a full, honest opinion of it.
Yep,
I wish
that's
them well.
did the
I
same.
wish them well on their development cycle. I've bought many planes, and I really appreciate Max being totally brutally honest about a Citation XLS. And it's no knock. He would love for Karen Auto to come into his stream and talk to him live and say, hey, I think you ought to improve this, or you maybe ought to focus on this, and your aesthetics are wonderful. You know, I love the honesty that we got the other day on the stream. But I will say that I personally probably do. I'm a little bit careful with how I word things in my critique of a product, whether it be sponsored or not. I don't want to discourage these developers from continuing their development for our benefit in the end. Because imagine if someone went and just blasted FlyJ Sim and just blasted him, and we didn't build him up and encourage him. Maybe we wouldn't have that beautiful 732 and 727 and an upcoming Q400. Maybe we wouldn't, you know. So try to keep it positive, but also honest. I agree with that.
I think just one quick point on that. John, I agree with you. I will say 2 points, actually. One is there needs to be more developers that actually, in that specific category of airplane, actually have people that know how to develop that airplane from a beta testing point of view. That is a whole subject we can get into for probably days. But I think that is a known issue that has, I think, become more apparent, is the beta testing when an initial plane gets released is lacking. And I think that's partially due to the people that beta test it. Some of them are not real-world pilots. Some of them are friends of friends or friends. Or, yeah, all that kind of stuff. I think that's 1 point. 2 is with my review of the Caronado end products. I think, listen, never to be disrespectful, because these people have spent hard time, energy, their own money, all that stuff. And I think, you know, obviously we respect that they've released a product that we get to enjoy. But it is important that you point out the issues. You don't harp on them, but you say, that is an issue. It shouldn't be like that. Let's move on to the next. But I do agree with you that it's at the end of the day, we're fortunate that developers are releasing airplanes, good, bad, ugly, whatever it might be. 2, you know, we take that, we understand that, but it's important for the streamer to point out, hey, that's not right. This is not right. If someone asks me in chat, they say, should I buy this airplane? I got to be honest, say, no, you shouldn't buy this airplane, or yes, 100% you should buy this airplane. Quote example, I did the Learjet 35 stream the other day, and I forget the gentleman's name. Someone in chat said, how do you like this airplane? Had never seen this person in chat before. I said, I absolutely love this airplane, you know, blah, blah. And it turned out he was the developer who actually developed the airplane.
Yeah, Gamer 12.
Gamer 12, right? You know, and stuff like that. That is just giving your opinion. And if I hate to think if it was a bad airplane, I would have said it's not a very good airplane. You know, but it's stuff like that I think is important. But I agree with John. You got to stay positive. At the end of the day, we're you know, fortunate to fly these airplanes in the sim, and yeah. But no, I think that's a good point, John. It's a good point.
Great question.
That was a good question.
We're gonna do one quick question that I can answer in less than 2 seconds, and then we're gonna go into a 5-minute break if that's all right with you guys. Just
Yes,
do
that'd be
quick
great.
5 minutes since
Yep.
we are live. So Cosmic asks, very simple question: is there an offline version of the Great Podcast? Thank you very much, my friend. Yes, there will be. It'll be on, I believe, John, you're putting it on your YouTube, and it'll also be a VOD on Max's channel for at least a little while, correct?
Yep.
We forgot to tell Max about that part.
Yeah, we'll go over that after
Oh,
the
you guys,
the end of
it
the stream.
doesn't matter to me. You guys, anyone that wants it, they can have it. It's
Yep.
Yeah, I was just gonna. We put all the PB&Js up on my channel, but if you want to go up on your channel,
no, John.
That's
It's
a
all
loser bag.
code share agreement confirmed. We love
There
it.
you go.
We love it. We love it. We love it.
Right,
I'd like
guys.
to listen to it.
Oops, sorry.
All right. Do you guys
Yeah,
want me to just?
so,
Do you guys want to just X out the cameras? Do you want me to?
We'll
what
be
do you
back in 5 minutes or 10
the intro
minutes or
again, Vinny.
less.
Intro?
Yeah,
Gentlemen,
run the intro.
want?
Yep.
Run in the
Ladies,
intro.
ladies, thank you.
Hit the
All right.
Discord and
All right.
Be
all
right
right.
back.
We'll
Be
see
right
you in a
back.
little bit.
All right.